Hello, my name is Michele, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. Each year, we go through a process of setting our financial goals for the following year, or at least we should. And I don't use the should word without consideration, because many of us hate to be told what to do. And so my hope is that in this podcast, you'll come to understand the why behind setting financial goals and decide for yourself that you should create them. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. Back in episode 11, I worked with Tracy Taylor to go through a backwards financials exercise. If you've not walked through that episode, it's worth listening to or reviewing. I can remember early on in my creative career, not setting financial goals for my company, but doing more of a take what comes approach. And this meant that I had no real sales goal for each interaction with my clients. I had no idea of how much money I needed to bring into my company to pay the bills or to pay me. I was just enjoying the creative aspect and hoping and praying it all worked out and that I stayed flush with cash until it didn't. And then I decided to get my financial act together. You can read some of my story in the book, What I Learned on a Well-Designed Business, The Power Talk Friday Experts, Volume 1. I'm in Chapter 3, if you're interested. You see, if I never set financial goals, then I never really knew if I could spend money on a given service or product. I was always guessing. I also didn't know how to pay myself or those supporting me. And the question that rattled inside my head was always, can I afford this? And I hear that question from those of you reaching out to me and calling me or in my program all the time. This is what I think I need, but I don't know if I can afford it. And taking the time to really understand my financials was a life and a business saver for me, and it can be for you. Now I set yearly financial goals, and I even have set some years out in my strategic plan. And this forward thinking establishes a baseline for my spending and decision making, and it allows me to make company growth plans. Remember with that word from a couple of years ago, with ease. So let's talk about two high-level ways to set financial goals. I like to call them top down and bottom up. And before you ask, I use both. Top down allows you to begin with the total sales or revenue that you want to bring in. And when we use this method, often we're comparing it to the prior year and choosing either a number or a percentage increase. 10% is considered an increase of almost normal maintenance growth. So if we were to just look for a 10% growth rate, that's really just kind of in the normal range of doing business. The higher your numbers get, the lower that percentage might get for it to be considered maintenance. Higher than that is usually considered a more accelerated growth. Maybe you have a number for sales that you know you just want to reach. It's like this internal goal that you have. And so you can use that number and then work your plan around it. If we're using a top-down method based on historical data, it's also important to understand your pricing strategy because that will impact your cost of goods percentage and gross profit percentage of total revenues. You can decide on whether to keep those the same for the new year or if you want to tweak them a few percentage points in the opposite direction, either up or down. Continuing with the top-down method, consider your expenses. What do you want to add or remove for this new year? What can you renegotiate? What's not on the prior year P&L that will be? And what's on there that won't be going forward? After doing this work, you should have a net profit. And with this net profit, you'll then parse it out into the categories it might represent, such as taxes, company savings, bonuses, retirement, and maybe even owner's draw. And there are certainly others. What I love to do is choose a method of planning and then stress test it by going in the opposite direction. So now let's look at bottom up. Bottom-up planning starts with defining the net profit and how it will be used. And so many start here by creating their salary. Here's the amount of money that I want to make. And then they add in for taxes and company profit, bonuses, and anything else that they might want to do. This then becomes their net profit number. You can then build out your expenses, as I just explained. And then when you add up your expenses and your net profit, you now have gross profit. If you know your gross profit as a percentage of total revenue, you can simply divide the gross profit by that percentage to get the total sales number. Now, I know if you are driving in a car right now, all of this feels like, oh my gosh, you're going so fast, you're going so quick. Here's the cool thing. All of my podcasts are transcribed, so you can easily go to my website and read the transcription here. But let me give you an example of this. If your gross profit is $250,000 because you've added up your net profit and your expenses, and you know that your goal for gross profit is for it to be 48% of your total sales or total revenue, then you can divide 250,000 by 0.48 or 48%, and it will tell you that your total revenue needs to be $520,833. And then if you subtract your gross profit from total revenue, you can easily see that your cost of goods needs to be $270,833. So in other words, if you want to find out the total revenue and you know either your cost of goods or your gross profit, and you know what percentage of the business they represent, you can divide that number by its percentage and it will tell you the resulting revenue number. Using numbers and percentages, you then can go back and forth in your financial model until it matches your strategic plan and the more defined goals you have for the year. Since we're always working to align our goals with the overall strategic plan, this financial exercise will take into account your rent, your build out if you're moving into a new space. It could include and should include any human resources needs like hiring, raises, bonuses, or even if you're looking to add additional benefits. Consider your technology needs and the cost for that, maybe even new computers that might be necessary. All of this to say, we are not creating our financial goals in a vacuum. They're created with defined company goals for all aspects of the business. Creating this high-level financial set of goals will allow you to do other financial tasks to truly take control of your numbers. We're going to look at these in future podcast episodes. Some of the topics we're going to look at are going to be creating workable budgets, stretch budgets, key performance indicators, visual representations of the data, and so much more. I can't share enough about how creating just these 5 numbers as goals created relief for me. And I know that these 5 numbers represent a lot of other decisions. And I've seen this play out with those that I serve over and over and over. Having these 5 goals creates a framework for financials and for other decisions that need to be made in the company. Basing these numbers on data, current or historical, and aligning to the goals makes those numbers real. They're not made up or pulled from the sky or borrowed from another perceived successful business owner. You can make the call on what you want to accomplish, and you can create the services and offerings that help you and your team meet those goals. Decision-making overall will just be easier once these financial goals are established. If you want or need assistance to do this, you can check out the Understanding Your Financials course on my website. And if you walk through it, all of this at a step at a time, you'll understand every bit of it. And the cool thing is with any type of online course like that, you can go through it over and over and over at your own pace until you understand. Isn't 2022 the year to really understand your numbers and take control of income and spending? I think it is. Check out Understanding Your Financials on scarletthreadconsulting.com. Make a choice to gain control of your financial goals because profit doesn't happen by accident. Profit is a Choice is proud to be part of the designnetwork.org, where you can discover more design media reaching creative listeners. Thanks for listening, and stay creative and business minded.